Welcome again to educator.com, and this time we are going to continue with our transitions for particular types of organization, and we will be going over in the future chronological and, on the other hand, compare and contrast. Chronological. First came the chicken. Next a chicken laid the egg. For a long period of time, the egg was warmed. Finally, out of that little egg, a new baby chicken was born. Chronological is really simple. It's kind of a big word, but it starts with this one. Chrono, or chronos. It is a Greek word that means time. So I can bet you can guess how chronological organizes its essays. So the purpose of a chronological organization is to describe a series of events or developments in the order that they happened. You don't want to describe them backwards, that's just kind of silly. Also, because all stories take place in kind of a time sequence, you can also summarize the events of a story using chronological organization. And you can describe the causes of another event in time. So, I had coffee this morning, I boiled water first. That's an example of a cause. We'll be going cause and effect over in the next lesson, so just keep that in mind for now. Typically, if you're dedicating an entire essay to chronological organization, you're going to do one major event per paragraph. And so you'll be dividing up your chronological essays into 1, 2, 3 events most of the time. But I'm here to tell you, just like with listing, you can break the rules when you need to. Now, I bet you guys also can remember from the summarizations that we do still have these 3 acts. So, we'll review it right now. First off, when you're doing a story and you're summarizing the events in a story, try to stick again with this Hollywood 3-act. First act, introduce the main character and other characters and the conflict. Then, Act 2 escalates the conflict and move towards the climax. Act 3, you resolve the climax and show the results. Now, I'm going to go over my summary of Harry Potter and the Sorcerer's Stone, and I'm going to highlight a couple keywords for you. Harry is an ordinary boy who lives with abusive relatives. He lives under the stairs all alone. Then one day, letters begin appearing for him. Finally, Hagrid comes and announces that Harry is a wizard. Harry decides to leave with Hagrid and go to Hogwarts. While at Hogwarts, Harry meets many new friends, like Ron and Hermione. He also meets rivals like Draco Malfoy. Soon, him and his friends learn of something called the Sorcerer's Stone, and they believe that Snape wants to find it and give it to Lord Voldemort. They even begin to believe that Snape is trying to kill Harry at a Quidditch match. At the end of the book, Harry and his friends end their search for the stone. They find it was not Snape, but Quirrell, another teacher who is after the stone. Voldemort is there too, sharing part of Quirrell's body. They try to attack Harry, but fail. Harry passes out. Next, he wakes up in a hospital. Dumbledore tells him that he is safe, Quirrell is dead, and that Snape was protecting him. Right, did you notice the words that I highlighted? At the end, next, end, while. Chronological keywords are actually really easy to spot, but there are a lot of them, and I'll explain why. Another way that you use chronological is not just summarizing stories, but we also summarize huge events in history. This is the story, or the history of the Spanish Armada of 1588. I have 4 paragraphs because I'm breaking the rules, just because, I'm the one teaching and I can do that. But for major detail 1, before the conflict, Catholic King Philip of Spain and Protestant Queen Elizabeth of England were enemies. On 28th May 1588, a fleet of Spanish sailed north to England and fought English ships and cities. After the English victories of the fleet set sail for Spain, finally, the fleet was destroyed by the storm. Okay, what do you notice about these words that I'm highlighting? What do they all have in common? Are you noticing any patterns yet? Chronological keywords are always kind of these things. First, any time preposition. What do I mean by time preposition? I just mean anytime I say something that references time. So before this, after that, meanwhile, next, in the past, now, in the future, before. These are all kind of just time prepositions. Also, if I say a particular date or particular time, that's also a big clue that you're using time order or chronological transition. So, 1588, on Thursday, 17th of January, July of 1776. Time order, chronological, time order, time order, time order. Also, time always implies a sequence, and so any word that also would be used in a sequence is also going to be time order. So next, following, and then, beginning, and start, finish. You have to have time to use those. So these words, they could be listing or listing transitions, but they could also be chronological transitions. So pay attention to those and feel free to use them in your own writing. Next pattern of organization we're going over is compare and contrast. Here we go. Owls swoop down out of the sky to catch and eat mice. In contrast, sparrows survive by eating seeds. However, both animals are similar because they are both birds. This is a simple compare and contrast. When we're talking about compare and contrast, we usually already have things in a list or in a category, like they're both birds or they're both books. And when I compare something, I talk about how they are similar. And on the other hand, if I contrast something, I talk about how they're different. So here again, similar and different. Now, similar and different are just two things. So if I'm writing a 3-paragraph essay, it might be kind of tricky. But here we go. I can do 1 paragraph for each item. I can do 1 paragraph that compares, and then I can do 1 paragraph that contrasts. Maybe I might get to 4 paragraphs, but I'm going to try to stick it down to 3. Compare and contrast, you might not have an entire essay dedicated to that, but if you're going to, these are the ways that you'll do it. So here's one strategy that you can use when you're organizing an entire essay along compare and contrast. You can dedicate your first paragraph to one idea or thing. Use some definition keywords in that first one so that we know what we're talking about. Then you talk about another idea or thing and how it is different. And in paragraph 3, you can talk about how they're both similar. Here's an example. Apples are a tasty red fruit. Oranges are softer and juicier than apples. Both apples and oranges are fruit that makes tasty juices. So, here we go. I could also organize apples and oranges this way. What is an apple? What is an orange? Ways that apples are not like oranges, and ways that apples are similar to oranges. That's another organization strategy. But what if I just wanted to talk about how something's different than another thing? Well, I could compare how the ways apples are not like an orangutan. And then I could do another paragraph that apples are not like orangutans, and a third paragraph that apples are not like orangutans. Now that's not really compare-contrast anymore, because am I talking about any way that apples are like orangutans? No. I would just call that a contrast organization. And you're free to do that if you just want to talk about how one thing is very different than another thing. So here are a few sample essays, and I'll be highlighting keywords for you. Let's talk about 2 types of reality TV, adventure and romance. What makes them similar and what makes them different? Now, did you notice something there? What about that? I said 2. Now, was that a listing transition word? Absolutely. Notice I am kind of mixing them, and we're going to be going over mixing later. Adventure reality TV takes place in exotic outdoor locations. Contestants compete for a particular prize. Often one contestant is eliminated each episode. People also work as teams. In contrast, romance reality TV takes place in less strange, rugged places. Adventure reality TV might be in mountain wilderness, but romance reality TV is in a rich mansion. Another difference is that romance reality TV seldom has teams. Despite their differences, romance reality TV and adventure reality TV have a lot in common. In both shows, contestants compete. In both, have an elimination process. In the same way, they also have audience participation. There are a list of compare keywords and a list of contrast keywords. Once again, compare is when you're talking about how things are similar. Contrast is when you're talking about how things are different. Feel free to use these in your own writing. Alike, same as, similar to, both, likewise, comparable to, compared with. These are all compared keywords. They talk about how things are like other things. Contrast keywords, different, in contrast, however, but, unlike, separated from. Feel free, once again, to use these in your own writing. So, your assignment is actually going to be kind of thick. The first thing I'd like you to do is go to Wikipedia. And when you're Googling and researching in Wikipedia, find an article for one of your favorite books or your favorite movie. Doesn't matter which one, because all Wikipedia articles have a plot summary. Read that plot summary and write down every word that indicates time. Chronological order. You'll find several. Also, in your book response, you're actually going to be writing a little bit of compare and contrast. You need to pick 2 characters from Brave New World or Wrinkle in Time. Now, if you're reading Brave New World, they both need to be from Brave New World. Wrinkle in Time, they both need to be from Wrinkle in Time. And what you need to do is you need to write down some ways that they are similar and or some ways that these 2 characters are different. Then, 250 to 300 words about how they're similar or different, and use those compare and contrast keywords. That's about 1 paragraph. So that's all the writing that you'll have to do. So next time we're going to be going over cause and effect. It's going to take a lot of time, but for now, just concentrate on compare and contrast and chronological. And thanks once again for using educator.com.